Yeah. Listen, Mike, you ever heard of a company called Hasbro?
No, dude, they've only been around for like 35, 40 years.
They've only been around for, since we were children.
Children, dude.
Before
They're
children,
around
probably.
since I think they started off as like board games or something.
Yeah. Makes sense,
They've been around forever, brother. Yeah, toys and games, kids, toys, action figures, everything.
Everything.
Multinational conglomerate.
You remember Toys R Us?
Oh my goodness.
I do,
They started in 1923.
Oh, wow. Before the Great Depression? That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, Hassenfield Brothers. That's how they started, and they shortened it to Hasbro Industries, which was 1968. Brother, they've been around forever.
Wow,
Holy moly, okay.
Survived the Great
stock
Depression.
market.
We're nuts. We're nuts out here. Survived World Wars. That's insane, dude. They did it all.
That's insane. 3 Polish Jewish brothers. That's crazy. I mean, Hassenfield, yeah, from Rhode Island. Okay, I'm digressing. Let's get into actual video game stuff.
It's time to buckle up, Mike. Want to know why? That is because Hasbro spent over $1 billion on games and has plans for the next 100 years since Baldur's Gate 3 proved that fans like a great, well-executed D&D game. Ain't that the truth? You know what I'm saying?
It is absolutely the truth.
Game of the year, baby. Some people, that's what they say. That's what they say. It's a lot of money, though.
That's cool.
Hasbro is, in fact, making video games. Unless you've been living under a rock, you know that Baldur's Gate 3 did well, winning just about every major Game of the Year award, starting industry-wide conversations about the quality of video games, and getting one of our highest ever review scores at PC Gamer. Article written by Harvey Randall, by the way. It's also done remarkably well as a licensing deal for Hasbro, which owns Wizards of the Coast, which created Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Tabletop rules system Baldur's Gate 3 is built on top of. Unfortunately for said company, Larian's moving on to different, if not greener, pastures, but Dan Ayoub, hopefully I said your name right, Dan, head of digital product development at Wizards of the Coast, says there's no plans on stopping the company's forward march. Hasbro is in fact making video games. We have a considerable investment in our studio structure, and we've got over $1 billion in games right now being developed. It's a lot of money on games, dude. Oh my gosh.
Insane, man.
Wow.
You're not messing around.
That's as per a recent interview with GamesIndustry.biz. Ayoub, I really should have learned it about Ayoub.
I think it's Ayoub. Yeah, I've been highlighting it and then doing a Google Translate. Ayoub is how Google's saying it should be pronounced.
Ayoub.
Everybody has a different way to pronounce their last name sometimes.
So. True. Well, Ayoub continues, arguing that Hasbro's MO has always been about play. It's always been about entertaining people. And gaming is the predominant form of entertainment for a lot of people. And it's something that just continues to grow. Keep spitting. Keep spitting, baby.
You're spitting. Spitting that fact.
Facts. This does feel a bit of a strange revelation to have now. Tabletop RPGs and RPG games have always shared a lot of DNA, especially considering one essentially came from the other. Baldur's Gate 3 was hardly the first entry in the franchise after all, and there are plenty of classics like Neverwinter, Knights of Vampire, The Masquerade, Bloodlines that have their roots firmly in dice, pen, and paper. Heck, Cyberpunk 2077 is spawning from a tabletop RPG product. It's kind of crazy. One of the great things we took from the success of Baldur's Gate 3 is that people really, really like a great, well-executed D&D game. Uses Ayoub in the same way you might have Marvel out loud that water is wet. There you go. Well, these sentences, I dude, like today, I just like my reading is like my brain is like not computing with. I don't know why. It's like I feel like I'm struggling. Anyway, all right. I'm being a little uncharitable there. Baldur's Gate 3 is absolutely a landmark in its quality and certainly a far cry from CRPGs of yore, which mostly took place in text boxes and crunchy stat sheets. CRPGs, for those that don't know, is a computer role-playing game. It's kind of weird nowadays because like when I think RPG, I just think, oh, it's a video game, right? I think it's a video game. Yeah. So technically every RPG is a video game is a CRPG. Anyway, I digress. There's nothing wrong with that, but even the most hardcore of CRPG fans likely concede that kind of thing hardly screams mass appeal. Ayoub proceeds to discuss plans of Hasbro's upcoming G.I. Joe game, as well as Exodus, an original Mass Effect adjacent IP shown off at the Game Awards last year. It's being made by Wizards of the Coast development studio Archetype Entertainment and BioWare vet James Oland at the helm. What we are trying to do there is have the tail wag the dog a little bit and have things going the other direction for the company, which would be something new, where we can create a new IP through video games and then take advantage of the size and scale of Hasbro to do other things with it as well. As for Baldur's Gate 3, Ayoub considers it a fantastic example of execution of the brand in an authentic way. The players came, they loved it, and are asking for more. And I think you can see that with other brands as well. As I wrote earlier in the year, I didn't write this, but you get the idea. You know what I'm saying? He found himself a little skeptical about the success of Baldur's Gate 3 being down to some ephemeral strength of the brand, though being a D&D game, it certainly helped. Rather, it was a game that took off because of the hard work of the people actually making it. Ayoub's comment especially hit strangely, considering Hasbro as a company laid off most of the original people involved in brokering that deal last year. What the heck, Hasbro? What the heck, man?
What the heck?
Still, Ayoub promises that everything's going to stay in the oven as long as it needs to. We're not going to rush anything out. Video games are an integral part of Hasbro's strategy going into the next 100 years. Here's to the century of tie-ins, and at the very least, Wizards of the Coast continue to select talent well for their projects. I'm open to the possibility that this could continue to be good. I can only hope that these D&D games continue to be good. I will say it's a huge win for Baldur's Gate 3, and there's so many people that play it, and you got the multiplayer aspect, which I think just adds to it, where you can actually play with people, and it's like, and I will say, a couple years ago, I did like a little kind of D&D short campaign, which is actual tabletop, which I'd never done before, and it was a really good time overall. But like the best part about D&D is the dice rolling. Like the stories are always great, but it's like when I get to roll dice, it's going down, So
let's go.
I think
my turn to shine.
It comes back to like the reason people like gambling, probably, right? It's just that you don't know what you're gonna hit, and then if you hit something good, it's great. And if you hit something bad, like most of the time, it's detrimental. But in D&D, if you hit something bad, it can sometimes be really funny. So it's like you're gambling, but you're definitely not in D&D. It's just like either way could be hilarious. So it's really good, but yeah, I think that's a cool aspect of it. Seeing that executed in a game as well as Baldur's Gate 3 is, I think, dope to see overall, especially as an industry, just in general. It's done wonders for just the video game industry. So excited to see more. Excited to see how kind of studios respond and how things change as a result of Baldur's Gate. But it's really good. It's weird. Like I saw Baldur's Gate 1, I saw Baldur's Gate 2, like a little bit of those gameplays like way back in the day. And I was like, for me, I was like, I can tell this isn't a game I would enjoy because, like, for the most part, it was top down. And I think what makes Baldur's Gate 3 great is like there is a lot of top down. Like most of the gameplay is top down, right? But like when you actually go and you talk to characters, it's actually face to face. So it's like every other RPG you play. So I think it's cool that they kind of blend those kind of perspectives in, and it makes for very effective storytelling that's engaging to most people that probably wouldn't otherwise enjoy a game like Baldur's Gate. So they did a lot of things right in that aspect, so that's why it's so successful, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're very right. I think this is good news because it seems like the mission here is take the already existing IPs and franchises that they have currently under the umbrella of Hasbro and bring it to video games to reach a larger audience, and the whole overall mission being to survive another 100 years. Yeah. Which is incredible that they made it that far for this long. They've had multiple pivots along the way, of course. And I think this is just one more step in the right direction for them as a company. And it seems like they know what they're doing. And the success of Baldur's Gate 3 is evident of that. So
yeah, for sure. For sure, dude. All I'm saying is a G.I. Joe game could go crazy, Mike. I'm just saying. They do it right. It could go crazy.
I think you're right, man. I think you're absolutely right. And again, this just ties back into just being super excited about the future of gaming. I think a lot of people like being negative or being hyper nostalgic of what gaming used to be because maybe they were in a better era in their life. That might be part of the nostalgia, or just like, I don't know, a time where we talk about before with video games, multiplayer games in general. there's a lot of cheating going on, and it kind of ruins everything.
Yeah.
So to have more single player games that are really, really good with multiplayer there, of course, but as like supplemental content, not primary content, I think is the future. I think that's the way it's going to go for the next couple of years until inevitably there's another pivot in the industry and who knows what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I've been thinking about it a lot recently. I think especially when people are kind of more negative towards games. Like, sure, there's a lot of games that release broken that should be pretty much unacceptable. Like that still happens. But I think a lot of when people are like super negative about gaming in general nowadays, I think it's like I think part of it has to do with just like it's not so much like the nostalgia and like it's kind of gone now, but I think just like the novelty of a lot of games has just kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
And so there's not as much like, whoa, this is different kind of thing, and whoa, this is interesting. Like there's, especially like for first person shooters, like for me, the novelty of that is like complete. It was gone so long ago. So it's like, I'll play like a first person shooter, like a single player game. I'm more than willing to play. Like games like COD and stuff like that just don't really appeal to me anymore. And like I'll still probably check out new entries and stuff like that every now and again, but I think it's important for people to maybe branch out to other genres, try other things you wouldn't otherwise try, and you'll find a lot of good games out there that are different. And I think that's the big thing is like, if people want to get a passion for gaming back, like it's about just trying stuff you haven't played yet, or didn't think to play.
That is a fantastic thing to bring up. Like going back to things you haven't played in a very long time.
Yeah.
Like I remember being really into Mega Man games, like in the Super Nintendo, and I think they were even on PlayStation, weren't they? Yeah, like really early on, Mega Man stuff, even like Sonic. But those games were very nostalgic for me, but I hadn't played them in a very long time until I played something somewhat similar, Ori and the Blind Forest. When I played that, like that took me, dude, I was on the verge of selling off all my stuff. I was like fed up with gaming and I was like, I need to try something new. And I saw this. My buddy wouldn't shut up about it. I'm like, okay, let's load it up. Let's look at the trailer. I look at the trailer. I'm like, it's interesting. And then I started playing it. I'm like, I can't stop playing this. I like beat the game in like 5 days. I was just grinding. Like you gotta branch out to new stuff or old stuff that you haven't tried in a very long time. But keep it refreshing, keep it new. You can't be listening to the same song your whole life, you know? It's like, hey, mix it up. Like, I don't know. I don't like country, but I'll sometimes put it on and see what's going on, you know?
Yeah. Well, the thing, look, like, I don't want to get super philosophical, but also as people, we change, right? So, like, what you like 5 years ago, you're probably not going to like now. But that's not to mean that there's not something out there you can find that you'll enjoy still. And because gaming is so vast, like, you'll find something. Yeah, I mean, I think even the Ori stuff is really cool. And I think for me, when I know I'm, like, for me, the best feeling ever is when, like, I'm into a game, and then when I'm not playing it, every now and again it'll pop in like, oh, I can't wait to play that later. Or it's like, oh, I can't wait to jump back in.
Oh yeah,
like
dude.
That's like the best feeling ever because you know if you got something good. It's like,
I miss that so much. Dude,
just nothing beats it. Like I had that with like Fallout when I was in Fallout 76 last week. Like there was periods where I was like, oh, I can't wait to get back in, kind of thing. It's just like it's like the best. It's one of the best feeling ever. I feel like is when you're that like into a game, you're just like can't wait to hop back in. It's a good feeling.
Dude, I think the last time I really felt that was Breath of the Wild.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Like it took me a while to beat it. Don't get me wrong, but I had so much stuff going on at the time. But I swear, like I was so ready to just like quit my job and play that game, and that was it. Like it was just so much fun. And I got like Tears of the Kingdom. I got the freaking collector's edition. I haven't been playing it, dude. You know how guilty I am?
Oh man,
like guilty I feel. I come in here, I'm just like, it's like I love you, but I can't. I don't have time, man. Not right now.
You get that time eventually. I'm telling you. But yeah, dude, it's crazy,
man. It's coming.
I've experienced that a few times this year alone. Whether it was Fallout, Power World at the start of the year, playing that, just enjoying that. I was in deep with that game. Yeah, and like a little bit before that, I was in COD Zombies. That was fun. Like, yeah,
true.
It's just also I cherish those moments now where it's just like, oh, dude, I can't wait to like jump back into this game, and I know I'm like in deep in something. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, you know what I will say. This could be a hot take, but I feel like it's true, so I'm gonna say it. I feel like the younger generations of people that grew up watching YouTube becoming a viable career in content creation and streamers and like the success of these people, the enjoyment of video games is getting perverted in a way. becoming more perverse. Like you need, like, maybe the younger generation is looking at games and following the trends, like who has the most eyes, what's the most analytics in a game, so that they can become successful. Or like people don't watch their favorite games on TikTok, so they're like, I got to go to COD, which is the most successful one on TikTok, or something like that. And it takes away from the core reason why you should be playing video games in the first place. It's entertainment. You're supposed to escape
100%.
for a little bit. It's like watching a TV show, reading a book, although reading a book's probably a little bit more better for your head. But video games, there's some stuff to video games too.
There's stuff in video games you can read
better.
sometimes, you know? Like sometimes pick up a note or something like that. There's reading.
That's a fact. Yeah. Pick up all the collectibles and read everything. That's true. But I think that's like, it's kind of taken away from the beauty of video games, and it's like, I think it's starving some people, not all, of their ability to actually enjoy games for what they are.
Yeah.
They're just games.
Yeah, like the biggest thing about games is like at the end of the day, games is like it's ultimately one of the greatest art forms ever, in my opinion. Like just like appreciate like people spent time on this and they like put aspects of themselves into it. They sacrificed a lot. And like, especially if it's a great game, you know, it was probably that much more. So I'm just kind of like, like, this is, you know, it's an express. It's like with TV and film and all that. Like at the end of the day, it's supposed to like it's a work of art that's supposed to make you feel a certain way. And so kind of just take. Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you though. Like people, especially like creators and stuff like that, you get so intertwined in the numbers and everything. You realize, oh, this performs well. I should just like, you know, focus on this and only this. And then like a year later, they're like, dude, I just don't like games as much as I used to. And it's like, it's because you're playing one thing that you don't really like in the first place. It's like you need to go back. You need to take a step back and be like, let me just like game to game again, like, you know, and just not for others' eyes, not creating content, just like sit down, you and a monitor, just enjoy what you're seeing. So
you're absolutely right. You know, one of the things, you know what I think might be the biggest tragedy in a gamer, like a gamer's life as being a gamer, right? Not like the personal life, just like their hobbies, is when you meet somebody and they say they're a gamer, they only play one game. They only play one aspect of that game. You know what I mean? Like there are people that like they play video games like Rocket League. That's all they play. They've never played any other game. It's notorious in people playing like Madden. There are people that play Madden. That's all they play is Madden. There are people that all they play is 2K. You know, NCAA, anything. It's, dude, you're missing a whole aspect of the art aspect that you're talking about, which is like the single player, the story written content. They're getting professional actors that you see in movies to create characters in games now. Professionally written stories like Elden Ring, surplus by the guy who made Game of Thrones. What's his name? I almost said Tolkien, but
Tyrion Lannister. Wait, no, it's character.
George R.R. Martin.
Oh yeah.
So he like helped write the stories. That's why that won Game of the Year. That's why it's so successful. So it's like you need to branch out, man. You can't just have this one game mantra and that's all you play. Like I get it. You want to be a professional COD player. You don't have time for anything else, or you want to be a professional iRacer. But it's like, bro, you got to pick up a Nintendo and mess around in Super Smash for a little bit. Maybe pick up Mario, Legend of Zelda, like something that's like very easy to play, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
You got to have variety in your life.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with you to a certain extent. I mean, I don't want to be like super gatekeepy over games and like, oh, you're not a gamer if you play just this. I mean, like I think
that's not what I mean. No.
Yeah, and I know it's not what you mean, but it's like, you know, I think overall, like, you know, everyone that plays something, you're definitely gaming to a certain extent. That being said, I think, 100%. But I totally agree with you. Like, they're missing out on a whole wide array of, you know, a bunch of different genres and like art and stuff like that. Like, yeah, I totally agree with you in that aspect. There's a lot of people that are definitely like multiplayer minded or something like that, right? Where it's just like they just play kind of one style of game, and it's like, yeah, there's a lot out there to enjoy and experience, and you know, they're just not doing it. And the thing with like when I played Cocoon, kind of the most recently, it was kind of like the indie game I checked out. I was like, oh, this won some awards. So, and sure enough, I played it, and it was like the most peaceful like 4 hours I've ever had playing a game of just like, you know, seeing like the art in the world and kind of puzzle solving and using my brain. So yeah, it was very engaging. So seeing stuff like that's always awesome. But, which is why I'm trying to motivate myself more to just be like, check out this indie game. Like, you got Game Pass, use it, kind of thing. Just trying to remind myself more. So yeah.
Yeah, not just that, but just like check out. There's multiple YouTube channels out there that you can kind of just look into. Maybe you're trying to branch into a new genre and you never looked into RPGs before. You can go into like YouTube now and just be like top 10 RPG games out right now, or top 10 RPG games coming. I know it's redundant. Role playing games coming out in 2024 or 2025. It can like entice your interest, and you can like check something out, like learn something about a game or companies. And I think that's why I like doing the podcast once a week with you, so we get to learn about new games coming out and just. It's cool, man.
Yeah, it certainly sparks my excitement. I mean, I like the game industry as a whole, but just kind of seeing the future is always it keeps my love for gaming alive. So
100%, and the technology. I love when we start talking about technology. We didn't have a whole lot this time. It's mostly about like business decisions or personality stuff. Yeah, hey, we mix it up.
Yeah, for sure. A lot to look forward to.